Hi friends, it's Auntie Cuckoo, and today I'm sharing 3 decor DIYs with you, and I'm going to give you a look at my summer hutch all decked out in red, white, and blue. Today I'm going to show you how to make this super easy straw wreath that resembles fireworks to me, and we're also going to be making a sign. This America the Beautiful sign you see tucked up on top of my hutch is something I have wanted to make since last summer, and this year I'm finally getting the time to do it. So if you've watched any of my home tours in the past, you're probably familiar that blue is not my cup of tea. Well, at least it wasn't until this year. This year I have fallen in love with the color blue and wanted to use it in all of my spaces for my summer decor. So our final DIY that we'll start off today with is this plate. You can find glass plates for just $1 at the Dollar Tree. Mine actually comes from Walmart. And while I'm going to use fabric on my plate, Dollar Tree does have something to offer to recreate this look for pennies. And that is this collection of their wall stickers that I found my last trip in. Now I originally bought this fabric in a fat quarter from Joann's to make a mask. And then I got this idea. So I pulled out my Mod Podge, some scissors, a paintbrush, and I dried and cleaned my glass plate thoroughly. I am totally in love with the whole chinoiserie and French colonial look of all of the blue patterned items that I'm seeing. So I'm gonna recreate my own dinner plate or decor using this fabric and glass plate. First off, make sure that your pattern hits wherever you want it to in the center of your plate. To ensure that your fabric doesn't shrink with the use of your Mod Podge, make sure you wash and dry your fabric ahead of time. Then thoroughly cover your plate with your Mod Podge. Now this happens to be matte Mod Podge, which is just what I had on hand. I don't think it makes a real big difference with this kind of a project if you have satin. I did notice, however, that the fabric soaked up quite a bit of Mod Podge, so just when you think you've got enough, add just a little more. Then take your fabric, paper, or whatever you're using to cover your plate and center it on the back of your plate. Now at this stage, your fabric is going to be very forgiving. So if you miss your mark, go ahead and gently move your fabric to where you want it. Once you have it in just the right place, begin patting down your fabric, moving from the center out. This is when you'll be able to remove any wrinkles or bubbles that may have popped up between your plate and your fabric, just smoothing them out from the very center to the very edge of your plate. Now before we let this dry, I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and trim around the entire edge of the plate very carefully to get as close to the plate as possible. Once your plate has dried, it should look something like this, although mine is not exactly centered, and that's okay. Now we're going to move on to the final steps of the decoupage plate, and that is applying not one, but at least 2 more coats of your Mod Podge. So I recommend generous coats, allowing time to dry completely between each coat. Now, while this is not safe for eating on, there are other processes you can do to make decoupage plates that are. This is strictly for decor, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. Now let's move on to our America the Beautiful sign. With my newfound love for the color blue, I wanted to use it all over in my summer and patriotic decor. And if this looks familiar, it should, because last year it was a bag offered by the Dollar Tree. And I bought it with intentions to make this and never got to it. So I pulled out what I had picked up, which is an old sign from the Dollar Tree we're going to use the back of, as well as the bag. To get started, I removed the sticker from the back of my sign and pulled out some blue paint and went to work painting the entire backside of my sign. Then I took some scissors and cut out the center portion of my bag. I've noticed in the last few years that Dollar Tree's really stepped up their game when it comes to putting out super cute bags. This is something that you could do with any one of their bags, so you may want to keep an eye open for the next time you're in the Dollar Tree. Once your paint has fully dried, you can go ahead and work on adhering this portion of the bag to your sign. For this, I used more of that handy dandy Mod Podge, and it did take a good, generous coat. The material that the bag is made of is very absorbent, so be as generous as you want, with your Mod Podge before laying your bag onto your sign. Then just make sure your lettering is straight and go ahead and smooth out any bubbles or wrinkles between your sign and your bag. Once your Mod Podge has completely dried, you're going to want to go ahead and give it a second coat on top of your bag and add any kind of trim work you want. I decided to use these stars that were a trim on the bag along the top and bottom of my sign. So I gave them a quick measure and cut and then used my Mod Podge to adhere them to my sign before giving it a final coat. I couldn't be happier with how this one turned out. Now on to our straw wreath fireworks. And again, this is something I've wanted to make for a while. So I did pick up 2 packs of the red and white striped straws and 2 packs of the blue star straws from the Dollar Tree. Then I cut out a wreath form from a cereal box and doubled it up. I just glued the 2 printed sides together using a little bit of hot glue. That made my cardboard a little bit more sturdy. A dinner plate and a salad plate are perfect for making your wreath form. Once that was together, it was time to get to work on my straws. I didn't want to use the entire straw because I felt it would just be huge, so I went ahead and cut my straws down to about the halfway point. Then I started adding my straws little at a time using a bit of hot glue. Now, a word to the wise, this is my first time doing this, and it may be smart to go ahead and lay your straws out before adhering them with your hot glue. That way you'll be sure to get your spacing just right. Since all your straws come together along the bottom, it did get a little crowded in a few different areas. So I wanted to mention that to you guys and save you the step. I also tried to use the shorter straws from when I just eyeballed cutting them in half and then alternating those with a long straw to give more space along the bottom where they attach to the cardboard. Now, unlike the last DIY, this one was a bit time consuming. The last one took way less time than I thought it would, and this one took way more time than I thought it would. So be sure to carve out a bit of time for this tedious task of hot gluing your straws to your wreath form. Once I had a red and white striped straw layer down, I decided to go back in with some shorter navy blue with white star straws on top, spacing them a little bit farther apart than the red and white stripe. So about on top of every other straw, I added a blue one. Because I wanted my blue straws to be slightly shorter than my red and white ones, I just eyeballed each one, cutting them as I needed to as I added them to my wreath. And once that layer was complete, I decided I wanted to go in with even more of the blue straws and use the shorter pieces that I trimmed off to fill in the extra gaps and give a third layer to our straw wreath. I really like the way the different lengths play off of each other. I think stacking and layering your straws is the way to go. Even though this is the first time I've ever made one of these, definitely be making them in the future for other holidays. Now at about this point, I decided I wanted to turn this wreath into a firework. So I stopped trimming off the edges of my straws so that I would have a support to use this flower garden stake that I had also picked up at the Dollar Tree. And since I wasn't completely in love with this shade of red and mixing it with my straws, I decided to give it a brighter coat of red before using some hot glue along the back of the flower to go ahead and glue it onto the center of my straw wreath. Now, if I'm being honest, this one looks nothing like what I thought it would, but I am so happy with it, and it makes the perfect little addition to this corner where I decorate my hutch and I have a window frame I always like to hang something lightweight in front of. And with all of my DIYs completed, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick little tour of how I have decorated using these DIYs to decorate my hutch for summer. And for me, summer is all about patriotic decor, red, white, and blue. You may remember during Mother's Day, I did bring out a lot of my teacups and decorated my entire hutch in a Mother's Day tea theme. Well, that kind of inspired me, and after thinking about the word liberty, I decided to keep the tea theme and add a red, white, and blue twist this year. So on top of my hutch, I have a few thrifted jars, a can of tea, and I added this bunting to a large wooden box perfect for propping up my new DIY America sign. I added a few things from my garden and some pieces of greenery I already had on hand. Now I don't have a lot of blue and white that I already own, so I did keep my eye out for a few things. And in my last trip into Michael's, where you guys may have seen my grab box finds, I did spot this blue and white pot and it was on clearance for just $5. So I picked that up and added a green topiary I had made last year to the top of it. Now for the teapot and the miniature blue tea set, those are items I found on my local OfferUp secondhand site for just a few dollars from a local seller. I'm so happy with how it all turned out, and it cost me just pennies to put together. I hope you enjoyed seeing my DIYs and Hutch tour. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you back very soon.